Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me, Tim, with a video that's a little bit different than some of my other videos that I created, but I think it's just as important, and I think it's something that you rarely ever see from creatives on YouTube. And this is what I wanted to talk about: is how in 2021, how I paid off the vast majority of my debt in really somewhat of a simple way. So many of you know I'm a photographer. I've been a full-time working photographer for the last 12 years. And just over the years, I have accumulated so much gear and so many cameras. I mean, I have a lot of different cameras that I photograph with and different tools that I use. But as a photographer, these are all things that I felt that I needed. And I started paying off my debt in 2021 because my wife and I wanted to do some different things around the house. We wanted to go on vacation, and there's all sorts of different things that we wanted to do, and I just couldn't rationalize doing any of this with a ton of debt. And what I mean by a ton of debt is just like credit cards, student loans, a couple other small loans that I had here and there. And this is kind of pretty much what I did. I looked at all of my camera gear. I looked at it, and if I hadn't touched it in 3 months, I sold it. And what I mean by that is that there are oftentimes we just collect stuff that just stays in our bags or stays on a shelf in our office, and we do little to nothing with it, and we just kind of collect and hoard gear. And in order to, we can always find a way to rationalize why we should buy something new, but rarely, if ever, do we look at the stuff that we own and we say, like, you know what? I haven't used that in a long time. Let me sell it and make some money off of it and then put it down to my debt. So I probably have over 40 or 50 cameras that I've just accumulated over years. Some of them have high value. Some of them have little to no value. Some of them were given to me. Some of them were handed down to me from different relatives, and I didn't sell those, but I did sell the ones that I've purchased that were just sitting on a shelf that I just wasn't using. And I think the thing is this, is that it was more important for me to have my debt paid than it was for me to have that gear. And oh my gosh, and it was like one of those, like, I think they call it like the snowball effect. Like once you start paying off one debt, and then all of a sudden I was like, man, let me pay off this debt, and then let me pay off this debt. And it just kind of came one of those things where I just started selling off gear that I just didn't need. And with my lens selections, I realized I only really need 3 lenses for any camera body. I need a wide angle lens, I need a portrait lens, like a 50, and I need an 85. So when I need that extra distance, that I can kind of shoot what I need to with the 85. All the other stuff, the 70 to 200 lens, I got rid of. The 24 millimeter lens, I got rid of. The 35 millimeter lens, I got rid of. And what I ended up doing was I just used my 15 to 35 as that one stop fits all thing. And I just learned to deal with that. And one of the things that it really helped is it helped me with my decision paralysis with also creating, which actually made me a better creative. When I worked with less, I actually created more. I don't know if you're anything like me, but when I have a bunch of lenses in my bag, when I'm shooting or photographing something, I'm always thinking of, is there something better in my bag that I can create with than what is on my camera body? So that eliminated all of that, and that really helped a ton in helping me pay down my debt. The number 2 thing that I did that helped me pay off all my debt is I stopped buying new stuff. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with my laptop. I didn't need to upgrade my laptop. There was nothing wrong with the camera bodies that I was shooting with, or the lenses that I owned. There was nothing wrong with it. But I would convince myself whenever Canon or Leica or Sony or whoever I was shooting with released something new, that I convinced myself that I had to have it, and I would obsess over it, and I would watch YouTube videos about it, and I would read articles about it, and I would do all of these things, and then eventually what it would lead to was me buying that piece of equipment. So being able to shut off the noise and just stay quiet and be content with what I had has helped me tremendously in keeping my debts paid and not growing new debt because something new has come out or something new has tickled my fancy. The number 3 thing that I did was I got on a budget. for really probably the first time in my life. And I always felt like I had a general sense of how much money I was spending and how much money was coming in. But I never really, until the pandemic of 2020, where I had to hatch, button down all the hatches, lock everything down. So I really had to look at how much money I was spending in order to live a lifestyle that I was only really doing to impress you, my viewer, or to impress my friends on social media, or to impress my real life friends out and about. And I realized that I didn't need to do any of that. I needed to do what was best for my family. So getting on a budget and staying on a budget and having an idea and talking with my spouse and my partner that these are the things that we need to do in order to get out of debt to put us in a better situation down the road. And when you're working as a full-time creative, you have this like really funky influx of money that comes in and comes out. There are times where I could have like $70,000 come in like a month, and then there may be months where I may only have $3,000 or $4,000 come in. And it's just the ups and swings, the ups and downs of working as a creative, where your income comes in by jobs and it doesn't necessarily come in regularly. Like I don't have a regular paycheck like so many other people do. So when you are working as a creative and your jobs are kind of dependent upon the seasons, like I know in the winter as a photographer, I'm not photographing a ton of paid work. But in the spring, in the summer, in the fall, I am like crazy busy. So I know that I need to kind of put some money away for a rainy day and not spend it all just because I have it. And what helped me doing that was being on a budget. Now we know that everything costs a little bit more now than it did last year, that it did the year before. So making incremental adjustments to your budget is extremely, extremely important. And what I mean by that is what I mean by that is making a plan of attack. Like, so you know that you have 6 credit cards, you know what your balances are, but what I would suggest for you as a creator is to write that down, add it all up so you can have just a greater view of what you owe out to people versus what you have coming in. And when you make a plan of attack, it makes it extremely easy to just knock down one thing after another. And one of the other things that 2020 kind of helped, which is funky in 2021, is the fact that everything was locked down. My family actually went on fewer vacations. So this was actually the perfect time to save that extra money that I was probably spending on going on vacations. We really spent money on food and at-home entertainment. We weren't going to the movies or doing any of this other stuff. So I used all of that money just to kind of further chip away at that debt that I was saving by our family just not going out and doing things, which to some, I know the pandemic was tough and it's rough and it still is not great, but for paying down my debt, it was really a blessing in disguise. The other thing that I was is create a meal plan. This is just something that I started recently. I would probably go out to eat 2 or 3 times a week for lunch or with clients or whatever. But now I do this really weird thing, whereas on Sunday, I cook my meals for the week. I put it in these little storage containers, and then I just take it with me to the office and just eat. So I'm not spending, $35-40 a week on food while I'm eating out. And also it's helped me lose a little bit of weight. I get those pandemic LBs that I need to lose, but that definitely helped. The other thing that is reviewing my bills and figuring out where I was spending money that was unnecessary. I'll give you a prime example. I have an in-ground sprinkler system. I had one pump that wasn't functioning correctly that I didn't realize, but my water bill was shooting up. But I wasn't necessarily looking at it. It was coming in and I was paying it. I was like, oh, the water bill is high this month. Well, I don't know why it's high, but I would just pay it. But what I ended up doing is as I was kind of reviewing my bills, I realized, wow, that is actually about $150 more than normal. Let me go figure out what is wrong. And I realized that I had a bad sprinkler head that was actually leaking instead of just spraying out beyond the set timer that I have on my in-ground sprinkler unit. So being able to get that fixed helped save me $100 per month. And something just small like that, by reviewing my bills and knowing what exactly is going out and knowing what those trends are, going up and going down, has helped me tremendously as I have paid down my debt in 2020 and 2021. Now, I know these are like relatively simple things, and I think as creatives, we just don't talk about them enough. We don't talk about them hardly at all. I don't know very many creative YouTube channels that talk about paying down debt, talk about the importance of not buying gear, talk about the importance of selling off gear if you're not using it, or if it's just sitting on a shelf. Take the extra money and put it into paying down your debt. Because I promise you this, being debt free and working towards being debt free is by far way more beneficial than any piece of gear that you will have in your shelf that you could possibly shoot with. That lens or that camera body is not going to make you a better photographer anyway. Working on your craft is. And I'm going to make these videos somewhat frequently, somewhat regularly, as we kind of become more well fleshed out creatives and more fleshed out photographers. And I want to be a place where you can kind of come and just get a little bit of real talk about why you don't need to buy certain pieces of equipment, and why certain pieces of equipment you should buy, you know, or maybe what my experiences are with it. Does it necessarily need to be in your bag? It probably doesn't. But what does need to be in your bag, what does need to be in your bank account, is more money. I'm all for you having more money. So these are a couple of things that I've done over the last year to pay down my debt and to become debt free in 2022. And I hope you find some of this stuff and you take it and start working on becoming debt free as well. I just want to appreciate you guys for watching this random video. Don't go out and buy that new Leica M11. Instead, invest that money in paying down some of your debt. And if you're debt free and you can't go out and buy the M11, pay for it with cash. Don't put it on credit, and just go around and just feel a lot more freer as you're photographing and creating new work. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.